Now today I'll be doing a retrospective on a wannabe blockbuster that had high ambitions but unfortunately turned into a critically maligned disaster.
Sylvester Stallone, Dolly Parton, in the knockout comedy of the summer, Rhinestone.
Coming to you from a basement studio somewhere down under, it's the 80s Show with Australia's Retro Man. On tonight's show, Retro Man does part 2 of his retrospective on the country and western romance, Rhinestone. Well, what are we waiting for? Lights, camera, Retro Man!
G'day viewers, Retro Man here and welcome to the 80s Show. So we've got director Bob Clark, we've got Sly Stallone and we've got Dolly Parton working together to turn this country and western romantic comedy into a mega hit. And it had a $30 million budget, and in the end it turned out that it just made just over $20 million. So it was a flop of sorts. But hey, look, they went on the campaign trail and Sly profusely said that working with Dolly Parton was an absolute treat. He had so much fun making the film, and Dolly felt the same. The two of them had a lot of chemistry, and they enjoyed the process. They enjoyed the interviews, post-film, they enjoyed making the film. The whole thing really had a good vibe about it. And when you see Stallone throw himself into these music scenes, I mean, obviously he's not a trained singer, but he's doing his best. He's actually trying to add that little bit of sly charisma to it and just sort of fumble his way through the songs. I mean, there's a song in there called Drinkenstein, this Budweiser song, beer song, and he's done up in this hokey sort of outfit, and it's a bit of a clanger.
Budweiser, you created a monster, and they call him Drinkenstein. But
some of the duets that he does a neat little duet about friendship with Dolly Parton.
But I don't want to fall in love. I just want to fall in bed. But that's exactly what we meant for. But it ain't exactly what we said.
And the finale, I mean, look what happens in this film. It's a little bit predictable. Dolly Parton is trying to mould Sly into this country and western singer so he can go back to New York and get on stage and knock him dead, so to speak. And the whole film, the basis of the film is her trying to turn him into this singer. And they get on stage in a hick bar back where Dolly lives and they give it a crack, and it seems to be going all right. Then they go back to the big smoke and Sly is ready to perform. He's all dutied up in this rhinestone costume. And all of a sudden, Dolly's nowhere to be found. She's actually back in Ron Liebman's apartment trying to get out of the bet because she thinks Sly's going to tank and everything's going to go bust. But as it turns out, Sly jumps on a horse. It's a neat little nod and a wink to the Lone Ranger. There's a bit of the William Tell overture thrown in there. And Sly goes back over to Ron Liebman's place, grabs Dolly out of the apartment and sort of says to her, look, I'm going on stage and I'm going to see this through. He takes to the stage and he sings this wacky song, Don't You Come Knocking on My Bedroom.
Stay out of my bedroom. Don't messing up my pillows and sheets.
And it's one of those things. He hasn't got a great voice, but he wins the audience over with his personality.
Stay out of my bedroom, baby. If you can't take the heat, if you want it, come on and get it, baby. Satisfaction guaranteed.
He brings a stage presence and a personality to this moment where he just sort of wins over the crowd, and it doesn't matter that he's a little rough around the edges, and he gets through the song, and the song has a bit of a lift to it. It's really the lyrics are out there, but it has a bit of a lift to it, a bit of an infectiousness to it, and then next minute the crowd are roaring, and then he calls Dolly on the stage and they do a duet, and everything wraps up nicely, and the film has a happy ending.
You won't remember anybody but me.
If you want it, come on and get it. If it hurts you, don't come crying to me. Don't be knocking on my door.
Baby, you can't take the heat.
Now, it's a fun film. I think, hey, Sly, if you've seen his interviews over the years, particularly those 80s interviews, the guy had a wacky sense of humour, and Dolly Parton herself said that he's kind of crazy. He's this crazy guy with all this energy.
Shoot, I would take him to...
Tell her like it is.
I would take
If
him
she
to
had a
Big
box
K.
of cough drops, she would stand outside till she got a cold.
Oh, no!
Use
Is
them,
that
right?
true?
I mean, she's tight, all right?
Is that true?
And that's what he brings to this film, and I think it was nice to see that light and shade from this very stoic action figure in a movie like First Blood, and next minute he's just having the time of his life in Rhinestone.
I would spend, and I've spent a great deal, a fortune on a piece of art. And I'll go out, and if I'm buying a pair of sneakers, I'll travel 100 miles if I get a free pair of laces that go with it. You know, it's like weird.
And yeah, Sly might have some regrets about doing the film because it didn't go so well at the box office, but really there's nothing to be ashamed about here. He's having a whale of a time on stage trying to sing. He's enjoying the moment with Dolly, and really what I've heard over the years is Sly's family members, like his daughters and even his brother Frank, they've said that what you see in Rhinestone is essentially the way Sly is in his everyday life. He's just a bit of a quirky, vibrant, happy-go-lucky kind of guy at home. So that's what you get for the most part in this film. And I think it was a neat change of pace for him. Unfortunately, it didn't work out when they were on the campaign trail together. Dolly was saying, hey, I would work together with Sly again in a heartbeat if this film succeeds. But if it doesn't succeed and it flops, I never want to see his face again. And who knows what happened there, but the film did flop. I'm sure they're still friends, and often when they talk about the film, they talk quite fondly about it. The film also has an interesting supporting cast. We've got people like Richard Farnsworth, who plays Dolly's dad. We've also got Tim Thomason as a country and western singer who has he's got a bit of a backstory with Dolly, and he has an altercation with Sly in a bar, sort of gets him worked up. So there's some other quirky supporting characters. The film looks good. The music, well, Dolly has actually said that there's some of her favourite songs that she has ever recorded. She herself is very fond of the soundtrack. So it's a pity the film didn't go so well. I think it's a lot of fun. And really, if you happen to stumble upon some of those old clips where they're at the premiere, I think in general the vibe was, you know, people were pretty happy with the film.
What are you going to remember most about making this movie?
Well, that it was such a challenge to enter into the world of comedy and music and be able to interpret someone else's words for a change like Dolly's and do it all live. It's the first time I think that we've ever done a musical where there is no lip syncing, and if it's pulled off, I'll consider it quite an accomplishment. I'll be very happy.
I'm not going to ask you to sing a song right now, but how about a little southern drawl for the folks in Australia?
Well, it's been fine talking to you. I'll see you all in the morning, shall?
And at the premiere, actually, I can recall that Lucille Ball, you know, that famous American comedian, she was there at the premiere and she said, look, we've got two larger-than-life personalities in this film, and I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a feel-good film, and I'm looking for a good time, and this should deliver it. And I think if you put aside those reservations that Sly was ultimately a little bit unhappy with the finished product, and you put aside that he's this action star and you just roll with the quirkiness of it, you might get something out of Rhinestone, if of course you can find the film. It has never made its way to Blu-ray. DVD copies are still out there somewhere, but you might have to pay a bit to get your hands on one. And to my knowledge, it's not on the streaming service. So I was glad that I had my old DVD copy to revisit Rhinestone, this quirky film from 1984. all. And hey guys, if you've got some Rhinestone memories, do you like the film? If you like the film, tell me about it in the comments below. I'll be happy to hear stories about Rhinestone. Actually, here's a quick one for you. A guy that I knew a few years back, he was collecting Sly Stallone films, and he says, you know what film I haven't got on DVD of Sly's? I haven't got Rhinestone. And I said to him, yeah, it was out there a long time ago in the early days of DVD. And he said, I'd like to get that movie. He said, because I loved it back in the day. It showed a side of him that was very different. And my mum liked that movie, this guy told me, because she's a big fan of Dolly Parton. And really, if you're a fan of Dolly, what's not to like? She sings a lot, and Stallone hams it up and has a whale of a time with her. So that's Rhinestone from 1984, guys. A very offbeat country and western rom-com that I'm sure if you sort of throw aside those things that you've heard over the years and just sit down and take it in, it has a long running time. It's about an hour 55 or so. Maybe they could have snipped 15 minutes out of it, but there's enough fun to be had in Rhinestone. So that's it for today, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. This is Retro Man, living the dream, 80s style. Stay gold.
Thanks for watching. Retro Man will return faster than a boomerang and with an outfit just as impressive as Sly Stallone in Rhinestone. Way to go, Rock! Please subscribe and good night, viewers.